What if I told you there is no wrong choice? That even the mistake that destroyed you actually built you? We live trapped by the idea that we must always decide the right thing, the right course, the right person, the right life. But Kierkegaard said that this obsession is what condemns us to unhappiness, because doubt is not a sign of weakness, it is the price of freedom. Every choice is the right choice if it is yours. Have you ever stopped to think about how many times you gave up on something out of fear of regret? How many doors you refused to open because you imagined what others might think of you? The truth is that regret does not come from wrong decisions, but from the ones that were never made. Kierkegaard believed that the human being grows precisely when he dares to choose, even while trembling. And that is what this video is about, the mysterious power of deciding, the fear of making mistakes, and how the meaning of life is not in the result, but in the courage to choose. Because, deep down, that is what we are, walking choices, trying to give shape to the invisible. And if you understand that, you might realize that everything you have lived up to now, even the most bitter mistake, was exactly what needed to happen. If topics like psychology, philosophy, and the darkness of the human soul interest you, subscribe to the channel now. From which part of the world are you watching this video right now? Leave your answer in the comments. Condemned to be free, there is something curious about the idea of freedom. Most people desire it, but few can bear the weight of having it. Freedom seems like a gift, but when looked at closely, it is a disguised sentence. Because being free means not being able to hide behind excuses, nor to blame fate, God, or the system. It means facing the mirror and admitting that everything I am is the result of what I chose to be. Imagine a bird. It flies, sings, seems light. But the bird is a prisoner of its own nature. It was born to fly, to look for food, to escape from predators. It cannot be anything else. The human being, on the other hand, can even deny his own nature. He can love whoever he wants, betray his beliefs, change cities, professions, souls, and that is frightening. That is the difference between instinct and consciousness. While the animal is born programmed to repeat the same cycle, man is born condemned to decide what to do with his own life. It is an invisible but constant burden. Choosing is what makes us human, but it is also what torments us, because every choice is, at the same time, a birth and a death. When you choose one path, you kill 1,000 possibilities. You choose one love and renounce all the others. You choose one job and abandon infinite versions of yourself that could have been, and it is precisely for that reason that freedom hurts. Because each decision is a silent reminder of everything that will never be again. Life is a sequence of invisible funerals. Many people think that avoiding choices is escaping pain. But not choosing is also a choice, and perhaps the most dangerous of all. It is deciding to stay still while time keeps moving. It is like watching your own life pass by through a window while convincing yourself that you are still in control. But time waits for no one, and silence also collects its debt. That feeling of being stuck in front of life has a name: anguish. It is the weight of realizing that nothing outside of you will point the way. No sign, no certain destiny, no divine voice. Only you, standing before the abyss of possibilities. That is when the fear of making mistakes paralyzes you, and the fear of living disguises itself as prudence. But it is at that point that the human being reveals his courage or his cowardice. Sartre said that we are condemned to be free. It is not a pretty metaphor, it is a sentence. Because to live is, by nature, to choose, and to choose is to take responsibility. It is accepting that there is no manual, that no one will guarantee the result. It is the experience of being both the author and the victim of your own story. A freedom that weighs more than any prison. But there is something curious. When you accept that sentence, something changes. Fear gives way to lucidity. You begin to understand that freedom, however painful, is the only way to truly exist. That not choosing is becoming a spectator of your own biography. And it is exactly at that point where fear meets meaning that Kierkegaard's philosophy begins: how to choose. Kierkegaard believed that the human being lives surrounded by choices, but almost never understands what he is really choosing. Most people decide driven by fear of losing, of regretting, of being judged. But that fear creates an illusion, the illusion that there is a perfect decision, an option that will avoid pain. But he said, there is no choice without regret, because to live is to choose what will hurt less. He proved this himself. He was engaged to a woman he loved deeply, but ended it without explanation. Years later, he admitted that he did not think he was good enough, that he believed she deserved someone better. He ran away from pain and ended up trapped in it for the rest of his life. His regret became philosophy. His doubt became wisdom. That is how thinkers are born. From scars, Kierkegaard said that every decision is a renunciation and that trying to choose while expecting happiness is a trap. When we seek pleasure above meaning, we create a life of highs and lows, of euphoria and emptiness. The problem is not choosing wrong. It is choosing without awareness, because sooner or later, what was decided out of convenience turns against us, like a moral echo that never stops. The solution, according to him, is simple to say, but hard to live. Do not seek happiness, seek meaning. Happiness is volatile. Meaning is lasting. Happiness depends on circumstances. Meaning depends on values. You may be suffering and still feel that the pain has purpose, and that changes everything. Pain with meaning does not destroy, it purifies. Think about it. With something simple, you go to a restaurant and have to choose between two dishes. One is delicious, but made by a corrupt chef who exploits his employees. The other is simpler but prepared by someone who respects what they do. When you understand what each choice represents, the decision stops being about taste and starts being about values. That is what Kierkegaard was talking about. People believe that choosing well means choosing what brings pleasure, but in reality, choosing well means choosing what brings coherence. When a decision reflects who you are, even the mistake becomes learning. That is why he said, choose and regret. Because regret is inevitable, but regret with purpose is freedom. It is when the mistake becomes a teacher, not an executioner. Kierkegaard provoked the reader to accept the chaos of life with irony. He said that the human being lives trying to calculate what is better, as if there were a secret map of happiness. But the map does not exist. Life is improvisation. And it is in that improvisation that the most authentic moments are born, the ones that were not planned but truly lived. Uncertainty is the soil of freedom. And perhaps that is what he meant all along. Every choice is the right choice as long as it transforms you. Because in the end, the only wrong choice is not allowing yourself to change. Pain, regret, and mistakes are all paths to the same destination. And it is at that point that Kierkegaard and Sartre, so different, finally meet. Moral of the story, in the end, we are all prisoners of a freedom we did not ask for. And that is, at the same time, a burden and a blessing. Sartre called it condemnation. Kierkegaard called it faith. Both said the same thing. To live is to choose without guarantees. And perhaps it is precisely that uncertainty that makes life so mysteriously beautiful, because without it, there would be no discovery or transformation. The truth is that no one has the control they pretend to have. All plans can collapse in the blink of an eye. The perfect relationship can end. The stable job can disappear. Health can fail. But that is where philosophy finds its strength. When the world seems to lose meaning, it is the meaning you create that keeps you standing. Freedom is the risk of existing and the miracle as well. Kierkegaard said that the man who seeks meaning does not fear mistakes because he understands that every choice is a chance to know himself better. It is like a sculptor carving his own soul with each strike. Sometimes he gets it right, sometimes he gets it wrong, but he always sculpts something. Fear paralyzes, action liberates, and whoever accepts uncertainty learns to live in peace with chance. The problem is that we grew up believing that the right life is the life without regrets. But that is a lie. Regret is inevitable and necessary. It reveals what we truly value. Without regret, there is no awareness. Without mistakes, there is no depth. Regret is not the end, it is the mirror. And sometimes, the mirror is the first step toward freedom. What separates those who live from those who merely survive is the way they face chaos. Some run from it, others use it as raw material. It is in chaos that the human essence is tested. It is there that meaning is born. It is no coincidence that the deepest philosophers are also the most wounded, because only those who have been lost understand the value of finding themselves. And that is why Kierkegaard, even in his pain, said, "Choose even if you regret it," because not choosing is the only unforgivable mistake. Standing still is wasting the most terrible and sublime gift of life, the ability to decide your own path. Every wrong step is still a step, and every step taken with awareness is already a victory. Life, after all, is not about choosing what is right. It is about choosing what makes sense now and having the courage to change when the meaning changes, because what is right changes with you. With every choice, you are reborn. With every mistake, you rebuild yourself. With every regret, you mature. And suddenly you realize that the answer you were searching for outside has always been within. And perhaps that is the greatest lesson of all. There is no safe path, but there is a true one, yours. And it only appears when you start walking. So if you are still waiting for the perfect moment, the right sign, the push from destiny, maybe this is it. The simple act of hearing this now, of allowing yourself to reflect, is already a choice, and it can change everything. And now, tell me, what was the choice that changed you the most so far? The one that hurt but taught you something no book ever could. Do you believe that there really is a right decision, or that, deep down, every wrong step is also part of the path? I want to know what you think about this. Tell me in the comments. And tell me also, which philosopher, thinker, or character do you want me to analyze in the next video on the channel? It can be someone who intrigues you, confuses you, or someone you have always wanted to truly understand. If this content made you reflect, if some part of it touched you or made you feel less alone in your doubts, then subscribe to the channel. Turn on the notifications to keep learning about philosophy, psychology, and the power of knowing yourself. Because, in the end, life does not wait. And choosing to think is already the first step to truly start living. These two videos in front of you are not here by chance. And what if everything you believe about yourself is just a reflection of someone else's gaze? Click now on one of the videos beside you and start breaking that mirror. You will have to take the risk and click. So, which one will you choose?